planets. We've already briefly discussed the planets, and they are classified according to their location in the solar system. The inner planets, Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars, are planets closest to the Sun. Earth and the other inner planets are also called the terrestrial planets because the inner planets are made of rock and metallic materials and have a solid outer layer. Inner planets, however, have different sizes, atmospheres, and surfaces. Mercury is the smallest terrestrial planet and it is the planet closest to the Sun. It is not much larger than Earth's moon and has no moon of its own. Because Mercury is so close to the Sun, it is hard to see from Earth. So scientists send up probes to bring back photographs, and the photographs show that Mercury has many flat plains and craters on its surface. It virtually has no atmosphere and has one of the greatest temperature ranges of all the planets in the solar system. It is so close to the Sun that during the day, the side facing the Sun reaches temperatures of 430 degrees Celsius. And because Mercury has no atmosphere, at night its heat escapes into space and the temperature drops below negative 170 degrees Celsius. Sometimes you can see Venus in the sky, and when it is visible at night, it is called the evening star, even though it's not really a star at all. Venus is so similar in size and mass to Earth that it is sometimes called Earth's twin. While it's similar in density and internal structure to Earth, Venus and Earth are very different. Venus takes about 7.5 Earth months to revolve around the Sun, and it takes about 8 months for Venus to rotate once on its axis. So weirdly enough, Venus rotates so slowly that its day is longer than its year. Venus rotates from east to west, which is the opposite direction from most other planets. And astronomers think that this unusual rotation may have been caused by a very large object that struck Venus billions of years ago and caused Venus to change its direction of rotation. Venus's atmosphere is very thick and is always cloudy, and the clouds are mostly made up of droplets of sulfuric acid. The pressure of Venus' atmosphere is 90 times greater than the pressure of Earth's atmosphere, and you couldn't breathe on Venus because the atmosphere is mostly made up of carbon dioxide. Because Venus is closer to the Sun than Earth, it receives more solar energy in the carbon dioxide, and Venus' atmosphere traps heat so well that Venus has the hottest surface of any planet at 460 degrees Celsius. Now, that is what I call a greenhouse effect. We know that Earth is the third planet from the Sun, and unlike Mercury and Venus, we have a moon. Earth's protective atmosphere, plus the presence of liquid water and the planet's moderate temperature range, supports a variety of life. Earth has a solid inner core surrounded by a liquid outer core, and Earth's surface is younger than the surface of the other inner planets because new crust is constantly forming due to the movement of Earth's plates. Mars is called the red planet, and if you were to look up, you can see it has a slightly reddish tinge. The color is due to the breakdown of iron-rich rocks that create a rusty dust that covers much of Mars's surface. Mars's atmosphere is made up of 95% carbon dioxide and is similar to Venus, but it is much thinner. You can actually walk around on Mars, but you still have to wear an airtight suit and carry your own oxygen. Now, temperatures on the surface of Mars range from negative 140 degrees Celsius to 20 degrees Celsius. Scientists think at one point a large amount of liquid water flowed on Mars's surface, and this happened in the distant past because images of Mars taken from space show a variety of features that look as if they were made by ancient streams, lakes, or even floods. There are also huge canyons and features that look like the remains of ancient coastlines. Now, while the planets lack a substantial atmosphere and low pressure on the surface of Mars, which makes liquid water impossible, scientists for a long time thought that there could still be water trapped under Mars's surface. And in 2018, planetary scientists reported the discovery of a large saltwater lake under the ice at Mars's south pole. Since then, not only has this large saltwater lake been confirmed, but planetary scientists have also found 3 more. The next 4 planets are the outer planets, and the outer planets are much farther apart than the inner planets, and they are so large they are often called the gas giants. This is because they do not have solid surfaces. The gas giants are composed mainly of hydrogen and helium, and because they are so massive, they exert a much stronger gravitational force than the terrestrial planets. Gravity keeps the giant planet gases from escaping, so they have very thick atmospheres. But because the pressure inside of these planets is so great, the hydrogen and helium is actually in liquid form. All the gas giants have many moons, and in addition, each of the gas giants is surrounded by a set of rings, and this ring is a thin disk of small particles of ice and rock. Jupiter here is the largest and most massive planet. In fact, it is so great that more than 1,300 Earths can fit inside it. Its mass alone is about 2.5 times that of all the planets combined. Jupiter has an interesting feature in its atmosphere known as the Great Red Spot, which is a storm that is larger than Earth. The storm's swirling winds blows hundreds of kilometers per hour, similar to a hurricane. And the Great Red Spot, which was first observed in the mid-1600s, has never shown signs of lessening. Jupiter has over 60 moons, and its 4 largest moons, Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callista, are so large that they actually have atmospheres of their own. The second largest planet in the solar system is Saturn, and its atmosphere also contains clouds and storms, but they aren't as dramatic as those found on Jupiter. Saturn has the most spectacular rings of all the planets, and these rings are made of chunks of ice and rock, each traveling in its own orbit around Saturn. Saturn's largest moon, Titan, is larger than the planet Mercury and has an atmosphere so thick that little light can pass through it. Uranus is about 4 times the diameter of Earth and is twice as far from the sun as Saturn, so it is much colder. Uranus looks blue-green because of traces of methane in its atmosphere, and it is also surrounded by a group of thin, flat rings, although they are much darker than Saturn's rings. Uranus' axis of rotation is tilted at an angle of about 90 degrees from the vertical, so when viewed from Earth, Uranus is rotating from top to bottom instead of from side to side the way most other planets do. Again, astronomers think that billions of years ago, Uranus was hit by an object that knocked it on its side. The planet farthest from the sun is Neptune, and in some ways, Uranus and Neptune kind of look like twins. They are similar in size and color, but scientists think that Neptune is slowly shrinking, causing its interior to heat up. In 1989, Voyager 2 photographed a great dark spot about the size of Earth on the surface of Neptune. However, unlike the Great Red Spot on Jupiter, the storm on Neptune didn't last as long. Since then, more images have come to show that storms on Neptune seem to come and go. Triton is Neptune's largest moon, and it has a thin atmosphere. Near Triton's south pole, there is a region that is covered by nitrogen ice, and from this nitrogen, gas geysers erupt up into the atmosphere. How cool is that? Okay, we've made it through the planets. Let's take a break here so you can show what you know.